Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 19th of November. Now it's 9:30 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for a day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. Today is Sunday, so first of all I wish you a great day and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And secondly, as Sundays goes, last few months, this evening 7 o'clock I will have a live stream if there is no any technical issues, and 7 o'clock in the afternoon, and I hope you will find time to join the conversation. Live stream will be about major topics, major developments worldwide, and I will also have, of course, chat with our community, questions and answers, and I will share with you, dear friends, some details about upcoming interview on our channel on Tuesday. Next Tuesday, we will have a very interesting guest. So, well, hopefully it will go well, and I will share this afternoon additional information about guest. So hopefully live stream will be interesting. That's been said, let's talk about news now, and I will start with short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. According to reports from Russian media and Russian language military channels during the previous night, Russian forces conducted quite large-scale drone and missile strikes on Ukrainian military and logistical infrastructure. Explosions were heard in several regions of Ukraine, including Kiev and the Kiev region. During the day, Russian Defense Ministry will probably share with the public additional information, and of course I will post about it on my Telegram channel. That's been said. Let's talk about situation on the line of contact. At this point, of course, there is only two sectors, major sectors where some significant activities are taking place. One is Kherson direction, and second is Donetsk direction, Avdiivka and surrounding areas. When it comes to Kherson sector, despite many attempts of Ukrainian forces to enlarge their footholds on the left bank of the Dnieper River, they are quite unsuccessful at this point. And there are different reports on different military channels. Some channels expect yet another attempt from Kiev regime to create some additional footholds, but some other channels are reporting that because this so-called counteroffensive or offensive operations in Kherson region did not go well for Kiev regime, they will probably reduce their activities and eventually remove their units from the left bank. Let's see how the situation develop. If Kiev regime did learn something, and if they did realize that Kherson region is a trap for Ukrainian forces, they will probably significantly decrease activity, but I doubt this, because at least for now we did not see any reasons to believe that Kiev regime is possible of learning. So probably they will continue to send more and more units to the left bank into this trap where Russian forces are basically eliminating one unit after another. At this point, Ukrainian forces have some small footholds not far away from Golai Pristan, not far away from Aleshki, by the way, right next to Antonovsky Bridge, destroyed Antonovsky Bridge, and of course Krinky. This small village here on the left bank, nothing in the scale that can be called breakthrough or any even serious development, really. Although Western media, Ukrainian media and Western media, of course, are trying to create something from these developments on the left bank, they are coming up with some strong headlines, but in reality, situation is under full Russian control, and nothing is happening that will influence overall situation in immediate future. And of course, main lines of communication between Crimea and mainland Russia through this land bridge is intact and are as secure as it can be. Take into account that this land bridge is basically right on the line of contact. Kherson region, Zaporozhye region, and South Donetsk direction. The situation, as I said, under full Russian control. And when it comes to Zaporozhye and South Donetsk sectors, we can say similar stuff. It's Russian forces that are on offensive, local scale offensive operations are taking place. And I did saw a video on internet about yet another failed Ukrainian local scale counteroffensive in Rabotina area. They did try to conduct to launch offensive with use of armored vehicles, and when Russian side destroyed 2 Ukrainian armored personnel carriers, rest of the units just stop advancing, turn around, and run away. Classical story, really. I don't understand why Ukrainian units are still obeying these criminal orders to conduct these suicidal operations, but it is what it is, man. And when it comes to Orekho-Bridge itself, as I said quite a few times, it's only a matter of time when Russian forces will encircle the entire Ukrainian grouping of forces in this area, and we will probably see how big Ukrainian units on the scale of battalions are laid down arms and surrendering in fairly short time, by the way, in maybe even next several days. When it comes to South Donetsk direction, initiative also in Russian hands. Russian forces are on regular basis improving their current positions, but yet again, nothing in the scale that can be called breakthrough for this moment. The Donetsk direction, as I said, main hotspot is Avdiivka and surrounding areas. Russian side is on offensive here also, and are on daily basis improving their positions on the northern flank of Avdiivka, on the southern and eastern flank of Avdiivka. And today, by the way, some Russian channels did report that during the reckoning force operation of Russian units, they managed to reach a train station in Avdiivka itself. And if this information is correct, and during the day, of course, we will learn some more about the situation in this city. If information is correct, and we will receive confirmations, then one may say that Russian side is close to isolate a chemical plant in Avdiivka from residential areas. Let's see how will situation develop. But as I said, there is no rush for Russian forces to conduct these offensive operations. I guess 3 to 5 weeks and the entire city will be under Russian control. At least Russian forces will begin final chapter in Avdiivka offensive. And yet again, I expect that we will see in Avdiivka many instances when large Ukrainian units on a scale of battalion, on a scale of companies and battalions are laid down arms and surrendering. Avdiivka is a trap for sure. It's a smaller version of Bakhmut, but yet again, if Bakhmut campaign did last for many months, in Avdiivka situation will be quite different. Once Russian side will decide to establish control over the city, operation will end fairly soon. And mainly because Ukrainian armed forces are on the brink of collapse anyway. They are nowhere near to the capabilities that they have during the Bakhmut operation. And as I said, in Zaporozhye sector, South Donetsk sector, in Donetsk sector, I expect, and also northern sectors, by the way, from Seversk to Kupiansk, I expect that in any day now we will begin to see factual evidence that Ukrainian armed forces are collapsing, and when one, second, and third, and then many more big Ukrainian units will lay down arms and surrender, That will definitely can be called beginning of the end of Ukrainian armed forces as a more or less capable entity. And this is it for short summary, dear friends. Nothing is happening at this point in the scale that will influence overall situation on the front line in immediate future, with the exception of Avdiivka direction, where Russian units are surprisingly fast tracking their forward movements. They are surprisingly quick when it comes to encircling Avdiivka and establishing positions already inside the city itself, city premises. So that's been said, I remind you, dear friends, that if you are interested in detailed analysis of situation about line of contact and local scale skirmishes, artillery duels, and so on, there are channels, specialized channels on military matters, military summary, for example, and you can take a look on those channels to learn some more about these detailed skirmishes on the front line. You can see links on my channel under this video in the description box. Now let's continue with some other news. Plenty of news, dear friends, and I want to make sure that this update is no longer than 40-45 minutes. Let's see if I manage. This RIA Novosti is reporting that this morning, by the way, Russian air defense systems shut down destroyed Ukrainian drone in the Moscow region while this drone was approaching capital of Russia. That was reported by Sergei Sobyanin, mayor of Moscow. And according to him, there is no data about casualties or any more or less significant damage on the ground. Drone was destroyed. Also, by the way, TASS news agency is reporting, and this story, you probably already are familiar with this story because it happened yesterday, and yesterday I had day off, so I couldn't report about it. So according to Russian media reports, Russian bloggers, by the way, Russian bloggers did had a conversation with communication with Ukrainian pilot, active pilot, by the way, of Su-27 fighter jet. And yesterday information was shared to public that this Ukrainian pilot basically took his plane to Russia and landed in Russia. And this pilot is not in Russian custody, because as I understand he is free. But I guess Russian security services are interviewing him, and after all this procedural stuff will be done, he will probably be freed. I don't know what laws are implemented in such cases, because this is the first time, if I'm not mistaken, when Ukrainian pilot took his plane to Russia. But the story itself is interesting, especially if you take in account that Su-27s, by the way, some of the Su-27s have been modernized by NATO member states and equipped with Western fire control systems, Western avionics, as I understand. And well, if that's the case, then this plane will definitely be interesting for Russian side to learn some more about Western military technology. And some channels even are reporting that possibly this Su-27 was modernized to launch Storm Shadow and Scalpel cruise missiles. I doubt this, because usually it's Su-24 frontline bombers that are launching those missiles. But who knows, man, who knows? Maybe this Su-27 also was modernized on such a level, and maybe on the board of this plane was 1 or 2 cruise missiles of Western production, Scalpel or Storm Shadow. Very small information is available for the public at this moment, but story itself is quite interesting. Quite interesting. Let's continue now. And the TASS news agency is reported yesterday, by the way, that 80 kilometers away from on the western part of Sevastopol, in the Black Sea, Russian Air Force did track one Ukrainian amphibious fast boat and 7 unmanned maritime drones, and fire was open in direction of these drones and the boats, and all of them were destroyed, according to Russian side. So I guess Kiev regime was planning to conduct some a strike in direction of Crimea, in direction of Sevastopol, but they failed. The Russian side did track movement of these drones and the boats and take the action quite successfully. Also, dear friends, yesterday RIA Novosti reported that in the Black Sea, a ship with Ukrainian grain was damaged by maritime mine. This ship was moving from Odessa region to Romania, towards Romanian ports, and well, I guess this is not the first and not the last instance when ships in the Black Sea have been hit by mine and damaged by mine, because Ukrainian side spread so many mines in the Black Sea, especially in Odessa region, and many of those mines have broken free from the anchors and are floating now all around the Black Sea. That unfortunately this kind of instances will only increase. And if you remember, there was several times when mines even reached Turkish territory, by the way, and Turkish coastal guards and militaries were destroying those mines. So unfortunately, Black Sea for quite some time will be quite a dangerous place for a ship because of these Ukrainian mines. Also, dear friends, RIA Novosti reported that well, Zelensky began talking about some Maidan in Ukraine. According to him, it's Russia, of course, that is behind this new Maidan. Well, Zelensky is finally losing touch with reality, and he is scared, by the way. He is scared. He has issues with the Ukrainian generals, Zaluzhny first of all, and him and his inner circle probably did not find any other ways in the situation other than began talks about possible regime change operation that is planned by Russia. And under this pretext, Zelensky, I wouldn't be surprised if Zelensky under this pretext will begin prosecuting Ukrainian generals and high-ranking other officers, including Zaluzhny, by the way, maybe even Zaluzhny. So interesting developments. Let's see how far Zelensky will go in this confrontation with Ukraine's top militaries. And also, by the way, aide of Zelensky, Mikhail Podolyak, did begin, senior advisor of Zelensky, did begin blaming West for failures of Ukrainian armed forces on the line of contact. And according to him, Ukrainian counteroffensive didn't achieve its goals, mainly because Western states, NATO member states, were very slow when it comes to weapons deliveries. Well, they're gonna blame someone, isn't it? They're not gonna blame themselves. So Zelensky and his associates are now beginning to blame, at one hand, Zaluzhny and his associates, and they will use, of course, the topic of failed counteroffensive against Zaluzhny, and simultaneously they are beginning to, little by little, criticize or shift the blame on the NATO member states. But anyhow, days of Zelensky in office are numbered, by the way. I'm quite sure about it. No matter what he does or his associates, they are done. They definitely are done. RIA Novosti is reporting. I would be surprised if Zelensky will manage to stay in office next 3 to 5 months. He will probably be ousted earlier than that. But anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that, well, according to Wall Street Journal, Pentagon is running out of money for Kiev regime to send some additional weapons. Well, not the first time when Western media outlets are articulating this topic that Pentagon has no money left for Kiev regime, and Biden's administration has no money for Kiev regime. Yet again, these articles in the Western media are meant to probably pressure Republican congressmen that are still against approving Biden's 106 billion aid package, in which 63 billion, if I'm not mistaken, is for Ukraine, 14 billion for Taiwan, for Israel, 10 billion for Taiwan, and some additional billions formally for border security of US. But yet again, less weapons will be delivered to Kiev regime. Faster this conflict will end. And now, of course, another major topic: escalation in the Middle East. And according to TASS news agency, this early hours of this morning, during the nighttime, Israeli forces began entering cities in the West Bank, and there were some clashes, and several Palestinians were killed as a result of these clashes. I remind you, dear friends, that we are talking about West Bank, not the Gaza Strip. West Bank is here. West Bank is here, and well, it's under permanent occupation, basically, of Israeli forces. Time to time, Israeli units are leaving some areas of West Bank and then entering again, and every time it's clashes with locals. And well, maybe Netanyahu's government is preparing ground to conduct military operation in the West Bank also, to force residents of West Bank into Jordan. Nothing can be ruled out at this point when we are talking about Netanyahu and his government, because in Gaza Strip they definitely are planning and already conducting ethnic cleansing, by the way, and they are basically forcing local residents out of their homes, and eventually, once active phase of military operations will be transferred to southern Lebanon, I'm quite sure hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Palestinians will be forced to flee to Egypt, and Egypt will be forced to open the border. There is no other option, and Gaza Strip will be occupied by Israel and integrated into Israel, by the way, and because Netanyahu's government doing all this stuff with total impunity, it seems like world is unable to do nothing. Maybe emboldened by this impunity, Netanyahu's government will provoke a large-scale escalation in the West Bank also, and maybe locals will be forced to Jordan from the West Bank. As I said, when we are talking about Netanyahu and his government, nothing can be ruled out, especially in situation when world is just watching. And yes, there are some strong statements here and there, but seems like they are absolutely unable to influence Netanyahu and his associates. Anyway, let's continue. So according to Washington Post, US, Israel, and Hamas are close to achieve some deal about hostages. Negotiations are taking place, and they are very contradicting news that coming from different media sources. According to some reports, negotiations break down without achieving anything, and according to Washington Post, sides are close to achieve some results, and some number of hostages will be freed. Let's see how situation developed. TASS news agency is also reporting that right now, by the way, as we speak, hundreds and thousands of people are demanding resignation of Israeli Prime Minister in Israel, right next to his office. I don't think this will work, and I don't think Netanyahu will leave office anytime soon. But this information once again demonstrates, dear friends, that Netanyahu's government is acting on the name of Israel, of course, but not all Israel that Netanyahu is doing, and many of them demanding his resignation. And I remind you, dear friends, that before this escalation between Israel and Palestine, for many weeks in Israel there was huge demonstrations against Netanyahu, and we demand that Netanyahu should leave office and should be prosecuted. By the way, we should not forget that Netanyahu is under investigation still. But anyway, he has some very strong backing, by the way. That's why he is still in office, despite all the crimes that he committed. And the RIA Novosti is reporting that, well, this is quite interesting news. According to Politico, by the way, US media outlet, Joe Biden, President of US, Joe Biden, did give order to prepare sanctions, did give order to his administration to prepare sanctions against Israelis that are committing crimes in the West Bank. And he's talking about settlers, Israeli settlers in the West Bank. And dear friends, when you take a look on the West Bank, you may think that entire this territory is controlled by local Palestinian administration, but no, in reality, more than half of this territory is occupied by settlers. More than half of territory is occupied by settlers, and there is illegal settlements in the West Bank. Score of illegal settlements, kibbutz and so on. And well, this is quite surprising information that Politico is sharing with public, because well, I don't think Biden's administration will sanction any Israelis at all, but maybe this information have been spread to somehow please Muslim community in the US, because according to latest data, by the way, according to latest data, 70% of Muslim community in the US did vote Democrat during the previous elections, more than 70%, and now these people are very much upset with Biden's administration. These people are very upset about Biden's administration, and they may not vote Republican, but they may just don't vote at all. And in that case, of course, Republicans will have advantage in some areas, maybe even in swing states. So I guess this kind of information have been spread by Biden's administration in attempt to somehow please Muslim community in the US, because I don't believe that Washington will sanction anybody, any Israeli whatsoever. But let's see. RIA Novosti is reporting that, well, head of Turkish foreign ministry did make a statement that Turkey may cut diplomatic relationships with Israel if several other regional countries and also countries worldwide will make similar decisions, so that this decision will have some impact. Because if one state will end diplomatic relationships, and Bolivia did, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, yes, it will have some impact, but not in significant scale. But if several or dozen of states will cut diplomatic ties with Israel, this will definitely have a significantly more influence on the situation, probably. Well, yet again, this is just a statement to probably for domestic use, I guess, because I don't think many countries in the region or in the world will even discuss possibility to cut diplomatic ties with Israel. They may downgrade the level of diplomatic relationships, but to cut diplomatic ties entirely, recall ambassadors and so on, no, it will not happen. Also, RIA Novosti is reporting that Erdogan, by the way, yet again, not the first time, demanded some inspections to be conducted by international community and international organizations in the Israel, about to find out, to learn more about this topic of nuclear weapons in Israeli hands. He basically called for the world community to, conduct investigation and learn some more. Do Israel really have nukes or not? And these statements, by the way, although I think yet again this type of statements are for domestic use mainly, in this particular case, when it comes to nukes, well, maybe, just maybe, Erdogan is articulating this topic because maybe he has some nuclear ambitions. I reminded you, friends, that Russia is building nuclear power station in Turkey, and Turkish specialists have been trained by Russians. And at some point, Turkey will be in a position to create its own nuclear weapon. So I guess Erdogan is preparing ground for such a development. That's why he is almost on daily basis now articulating with the topic of nuclear weapons in Israeli hands. Let's see. Because of course everybody knows, man, and Erdogan knows without any investigations that Israel has nukes. Some say 70 nukes, some say 150, some say 300. No one knows except few people in Israel. No one knows exactly number of nuclear warheads, but it's definitely dozens and dozens. But articulating this topic, Erdogan, in my opinion, preparing ground, laying down foundation for nuclear ambitions of Turkey. RIA Novosti. And by the way, there were some negotiations that the US may build a nuclear power station in United Arab Emirates. And whenever you have nuclear power station, and you have specialists to operate with nuclear power stations, well, you are halfway, let's say, towards nuclear weapons, because any nuclear power station theoretically can be used to generate and store some weapons grade plutonium, by the way. And I remind you, I'm not physicist, but as I understand, nuclear fuel rods, while they're being used one of the it's a I'm not gonna find the right words to explain what I'm talking about, but well, as I understand, when nuclear reactors are working, these fuel rods are producing little amount, very little amount, as a side product, by the way, plutonium. Very little amount, but after some time, these small amounts can become enough to, for nuclear device. And now Russia is building nuclear power station. Turkey on its own can bring nuclear facilities to enrich uranium, like it happened in Iran, by the way. They will build these centrifuges and so on to enrich uranium, initially for civilian use, but once you have technology to enrich uranium, then it depends on you how far you go in this enrichment. So anyway, let's continue. Also, by the way, the university is reporting that Erdogan did articulate that there are plenty of factual evidences for International Criminal Court to begin investigation and prosecution of government of Israel. Yet again, statement for domestic use mainly, I guess, because we all understand that International Criminal Court, so-called court, is a tool or weapon in hands of ruling Western class, and in no circumstances, no matter what Netanyahu's government does, if they will even drop nukes, by the way, on the Gaza Strip, or if they will detonate nuke underground in the Gaza Strip, in no circumstances this international so-called criminal court will begin investigation of Netanyahu and his associates or prosecution process. It's just not happening, man. Netanyahu can prosecute judges of International Criminal Court. He may call them and then demand from them apologies on their knees, public apologies on their knees, and that's what they do. That's what they will do, those so-called judges. So who they gonna prosecute, man? Netanyahu and his people? Not in this world, man. It's not happening. These calls, by the way, for International Criminal Court to act on crimes of Netanyahu and his government, although these calls will have no results in terms of prosecution of Netanyahu and his associates. These calls do make one good stuff. They illustrate International Criminal Court itself. So that's something positive from these calls when it comes to this so-called institution, so-called court, because everybody, if anyone had any doubts that this international ICC is a tool in the hands of ruling class in the West, then I guess at this point they will have no doubts about it. Of course it's a tool, man. Anyway, let's continue. And TASS News Agency is reporting that, according to TASS News Agency, Russian Ministry of Defense plans to increase number of nuclear submarines of a Yasin type up to 12. And this is, by the way, Hunter nuclear submarine. It has anti-ship missiles and on board, and also cruise missiles. It's attack ship and hunter ship, nuclear ship, but it does not have intercontinental ballistic missiles on its board. these intercontinental ICBMs are on the board of Borei type of nuclear submarines, and these ones, Yasin, this one's supposed to follow this bigger Borei class nuclear submarines and protect them, and also they can conduct solo operations because they are hunters. They are attack submarines. They can launch dozens of cruise missiles and anti-ship missiles, including, by the way, Calibre and Onyx missiles. At this point, if I'm not mistaken, in Russian fleet there are 6 or 7 this type of nuclear submarines. Several nuclear submarines of this type are on final stages of state testing and will enter fleet, I guess, in 2024, and 3 more submarines will be built for Russian fleet. 6 of them will stay in the Pacific fleet, and 6 of them will be in the Northern fleet. Interesting developments. These ships are one of the best in its class, if not best at this point. RT is reporting also that Chinese warship, by the way, according to some reports, injured naval divers of Australia off the coast of Japan. Very interesting news. Well, let me read several sentences. Australia's military has accused Beijing of unsafe and unprofessional conduct following incident of Japan's coast, claiming Chinese warship emitted dangerous sonar waves near Australian divers, despite repeated warnings. So, well, very unfortunate development, really. Of course, sites are demonstrating force constantly in the Pacific region. China and Philippines have very serious difficulties in relationships, especially when it comes to naval forces. They are constantly this demonstration of force. China is also demonstrating force in just all along the coastline, by the way, and they are not afraid to, you know, act in a not really safe manner. If they knew that there was divers in the water and they still act and they made decision to, you know, even slightly endanger these divers, this is well, this is not good. Let's be clear, though. One thing is to, you know, demonstrate force, and second, to harm, to do some harm to your opponent in this case, because China and Australia are not in a war, for God's sake, and why Chinese ship acted this way, I don't know. So these divers received some minor concussion, as I understand. They are well, safe, but these incidents, by the way, increasing on daily basis, because today it's between Chinese and Australian Navy, tomorrow between China and Philippines, next day between China and Vietnam, then between China and Thailand. Things are constantly escalating, and this is not good, man. This is not good. But unfortunately, I don't see any chances that we will see de-escalation in the Pacific region. Anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that, well, Pashinyan, by the way, Prime Minister of Armenia, did made a statement that there is a new danger of escalation between Armenia and Azerbaijan, And this time Pashinyan is talking about provocations from Azerbaijani side, where Armenian territory are called now almost on official level as a Western Azerbaijan. So there is new trend in Azerbaijan now, and not on a top level for this moment, not on official level, but in media, in some political circles, Armenia have been called Western Azerbaijan, which is, well, I guess, which is quite a reason for Yerevan to be cautious. And after all, dear friends, I said many times before that if Pashinyan was hoping that once Azerbaijan will establish control over Nagorno-Karabakh, he will manage to sign a peace treaty with Azerbaijan and then in a fast way join EU or NATO, he was very much mistaken, because from now on, I'm quite sure Azerbaijan will concentrate on creating a land bridge between Azerbaijan and Nakhichevan Autonomous Republic, which is, by the way, bordering Turkey, which is part of Azerbaijan, but bordering Turkey, Iran, and Armenia, and have no land bridge with Azerbaijan. And I'm quite sure in next year or two, unfortunately, there will be yet another military confrontation between Azerbaijan and Armenia, and the Azerbaijani forces will try to establish land bridge with the Nakhichevan Autonomous Republic. And in that case, of course, Armenia will lose even theoretical chance to join NATO, because according to NATO founding documentations or how you say it, Ustav, blin. Charters, yes. According to NATO charters, country that has territorial issues or are in conflict, military conflict, cannot become a member of this alliance. But it is what it is, man. Pashinyan destroyed relationships with Moscow and did endanger Armenia in ways that, well, I guess not many seen in Armenia. Otherwise, why they would support Pashinyan? But we did talk about these possibilities, this topic many times before, so we did see such risks for Armenia. But they did not, for whatever reason, I don't know. Anyway, and now it's too late. Now it's too late. Armenia destroyed the relationships with Russia. Despite many promises from the West, I don't think NATO member states gonna help Armenia in any ways if Azerbaijan will try to establish land bridge with Nakhichevan. And Azerbaijani forces are significantly superior than Armenian forces. That's also factual information, isn't it? So that's what Pashinyan did to Armenia, man. He destroyed Armenia. He literally destroyed Armenia. I don't know, man. I don't know what Armenian society is thinking by supporting these kind of idiots, man, like Pashinyan and his government. Anyway, let's continue. TASS News Agency is reporting that press spokesman of Russian President Dmitry Peskov did comment on the decision of Finland to close several border crossings with Russia. And at this point, if I'm not mistaken, there are talks that all border crossings will be closed, or maybe already closed. Well, according to Peskov, this is a mistake on part of Finnish government. And quite unfortunate that Finnish government took this path of constant escalation with Russia. Quite a diplomatic statement. What else Russian side will say? Of course, it's a mistake. It's a big mistake on part of Finnish government. But yet again, if society of Finland wants this type of individuals that they have in a government, then to lead their country, then, well, let them bear consequences. That's it. I don't think Finland will gain anything with the escalation with Russia. Finland will just lose, and already losing. I remind you, dear friends, that thousands of Finnish citizens were crossing border with Russia on weekly basis to buy some groceries, by the way, to buy some fuel for their cars, just to spend some time in Petersburg. You know, just to chill. And these thousands of Finns, by the way, will lose now, isn't it? They're not gonna be happy that border crossing become almost impossible. And also Russian citizens, by the way, also travel to Finland. Thousands of them. So this Leningrad Oblast, Leningrad region, including city of St. Petersburg itself, and the Finnish regions on the border, they were in close communication, very close communication, and for whatever reason, Finnish government destroyed this, man, harming not just Russian citizens, but also thousands and thousands of Finnish citizens. Why? I don't know, man. But I guess that's what that's a demand from ruling Western elites, from their puppets all around Europe, to act as Russophobic and anti-Russian as possible, and you know, that's a result of it. RIA Novosti is reporting also that Slovakia, by the way, under new government, made a decision that they will veto any anti-Russian sanctions from EU if in these sanctions nuclear energy will be targeted, nuclear energy sector will be targeted, especially import of Russian nuclear fuel. And Foreign Minister of Slovakia, Juraj Blanner, did said that Slovakia is dependent. Slovakian nuclear power stations are totally dependent on Russian nuclear fuel. There is no other way that these nuclear reactors will stay operational if without Russian nuclear fuel. And therefore, if Brussels will make decision to sanction Russian nuclear energy sector, they will vote against it. And Slovakia is not alone, by the way. Hungary has very same position. Let's continue. And well, this is also quite interesting. RT is reporting that one of the EU member states, in this case Bulgaria, may lost its only refinery that it has. Refineries belonging to Russian energo giant Lukoil, and because government of Bulgaria made decision to cut all oil supplies from oil imports from Russia, this refinery now is under risk because this whole refinery was operating on Russian oil. And what they gonna do now? And I guess hundreds, if not thousands, of citizens of Bulgaria are working in this oil refinery, and indirectly additional thousands and thousands of jobs were created. But well, I don't think government of Bulgaria cares very much about its own citizens, man. All they want is to please Washington and London as much as possible, to kiss their feet, you know, of their masters in Washington and London. And that's it, you know. Anything anti-Russian will go, no matter how much damage will be done to Bulgaria itself, man. That's how pathetic and disgusting, these so-called elites, man, in these quasi-states really are. And come on, man, let's be real. Bulgaria is a failed state. It's not even state, for God's sake. It's a you know, it's a colony, just irrelevant colony of the Washington. And if you ask someone, anyone in the White House, can they pinpoint Bulgaria on the map? I'm quite sure 99% will be unable to do so. You know, they don't need, you know, they will. Anyway, I'm just tired to see this craziness from European states, man. Especially ones that used to be close with Russia, and now acting as crazy, as Russophobic as they can, and anti-Russian. But anyway, let's continue. They don't really deserve the attention, you know. I feel sorry for Bulgarian citizens, but yet again, it's their choice. They chose such a government, so they have to bear consequences, including those thousands and thousands of Bulgarians that will lose job because of the actions of their government. You know? Let's continue. RT is also reporting that, well, this time Bloomberg, if I'm not mistaken, Bloomberg, yes, did write article that price cap on Russian oil is not working. G7's and EU's price cap, and according to Bloomberg, by the way, according to Bloomberg, citing a study of trade and shipping data by KSE Institute, Bloomberg reported earlier this week that over 99% of Russian seaborne oil sold in October had been at $79.40 per barrel, while well above the threshold set by the West. Yet again, we all know, by the way, that Russian oil is sold significantly higher than this Western price cap, and therefore, these Russophobes in Europe, in Brussels in particular, are planning now, probably with the under orders of Washington and London, are planning now to come up with some additional provocations, and they will probably use Denmark to arrest ships with Russian oil in Baltic Sea if oil is sell over $60, and well, let's see how far they will go, because if they will begin arresting Russian ships, for example, if they will begin arresting Russian ships, I guess Moscow will be forced to react on it, and I would not be surprised if one day 1, 2, or 5 Danish Navy vessels will sink simultaneously. If they want such a development, well, it's up to them, man. Yet again, choices have meaning, you know. If they want to go this way, with, you know, to provoke Moscow and to check Moscow, you know, how far they can go, then at some point, President of Russia will be forced to say, you know what, enough is enough. Let's show some force, because it seems like they don't understand any other language other than force, and Moscow will act, by the way. Okay, anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that, well, Peskov was asked about recent statements from President of Russian Federation that because Western sanctions are not really effective against Russia, or not that effective as Western ruling elites were hoping, therefore, major capitals in the West may conduct some provocations against Russian economical infrastructure, against Russia, which would not be surprised after what happened to Nord Stream pipelines. And Peskov was asked about additional information about it, what exactly Putin meant. And Peskov said that, well, he cannot disclose, of course, classified information, but Putin has enough data to confidently say what he said, basically. And if he said that there is risks that some provocations will are planned and may be conducted by Western ruling elites against Russia, then probably there is factual evidences to make such statement, and I believe there is, by the way. After what Washington, Biden's administration did in connection with the Nord Stream pipelines, who can be surprised if some other provocations will be conducted by Washington, London, or Brussels, for example. Or Brussels don't really have military assets, but Brussels can be involved, and some other capitals of EU member states, of course. Denmark, for example, easily can be used by Washington to conduct some provocations against Russia, and probably will be used, I'm afraid. Let's see. RT is reporting that Russian Central Bank chief issues inflation warning. Price growth has been accelerating for half of a year and has passed 7%, according to Elvira Nabiulina. So let me read several sentences here. Annual inflation in Russia has topped 7%. The head of Russian Central Bank, Elvira Nabiulina, has said, stressing that the figure requires more calculations, more cautiousness from the government. Inflation has been rising consistently since June, now exceeding 7%, and in accordance with our target of 4%, this increase cannot be called harmless, she told the State Duma on Thursday. Her remarks followed criticism over the regulator's recent decision to hike its interest rate to 15%. According to Central Bank Chair, annual inflation does not reflect the current situation with the prices. We often give an analogy that inflation in annual terms is likely a rear view mirror as we see the descents and ascents that we have passed, but the mirror tells you little about what is ahead, Nabiulina said. So in the annual indicator, inflation at the end of the last year and the beginning of this year is now very low, she added. The official also said that regulator assesses current inflation and the way price rise month after month when making decision on monetary policies. In the 3 months through October, the average monthly price increase totaled 0.88%, corresponding to 11.1% in annual terms, according to Central Bank data. Earlier this month, the Ministry of Economic Development reported that annual inflation in Russia in the week through November 13 had accelerated to 7.16%. Well, inflation is, of course, making life difficult for everybody worldwide. Russia is not exception. There are many European states that have inflation much higher than in Russia. But what is bad, by the way, when ruble was experiencing some difficult times in past months or two, price was increased, and now when ruble is in better position, it regains some lost positions in last several weeks. Prices didn't come down. Prices rarely coming down, man. That's the issue. Yes, on some items prices are relevantly low, undoubtedly, when if we are talking about some groceries, but in many cases prices are quite high, and well, I don't even know what government can do about it, because this is businesses, man. Business will use any opportunity to gain more money, and if they have a chance to increase prices and justify it because ruble is in turbulence and blah blah blah, they do it. And that's how market works, man. All they care is to make more money. That's it, man. But overall, by the way, inflation, although it's quite significant, it's noticeable. It's not in extreme levels. It's not in extreme levels, and the decision of central bank to increase interest rates to 15% definitely did slow down inflation. It did positively influence ruble to stabilize national currency, but from other hand, 50% is too high, by the way. 50% is definitely too high, and it does slow down economy because credits are too expensive, and no one wants really credits under such a high interest rate. But anyway, let's continue. I guess in 2024, central bank will reduce interest rates, maybe even twice, close to 7, 8, 9%. Let's see how economical situation will be in Russia. RT is reporting that world economy may split into rival blocks. This is according to European Central Bank. Growing geopolitical tensions could accelerate the world economy's deglobalization process, the implications of which could be far-reaching for all. European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde warned on Friday. Well, I will say world economy is already divided into two. There is a Western economical bloc with its financial institutions that are for now still dominating over the world, and there is a rest of the world economy of which and financial institutions of which are in creation right now, in process of creation. And at some point in 3 years time, in 5 years time, I believe BRICS nations will come up in addition with some other active work with some other global organizations, will come up with its own currency, its own financial institutions. And in that case, we will definitely end up in a situation when there is two rival economical blocks, Western, collective West, let's say, on one side, and the rest of the world on other side. And it will stay this way probably for decades and decades, entire 21st century, I guess, until Western ruling class will realize that they are no longer dominant force in this world. And once they will realize this, I guess Western states will begin to reintegrate in the world again as equal players, as somewhat equal players, because US definitely can maintain its significancy because of sheer scale of economy of US. But when it comes to EU, by the way, I believe in several decades time, EU will be some irrelevant province of Eurasia. That's it, really. That's the fate of EU, especially because of this anti-Russian stand of current EU leadership, which basically destroyed any chances that EU and Russia will become a real strategic partners. Because with Russia, by the way, EU had the chance to stay relevant in a global scale. But without Russia, what is EU, man? Just irrelevant province somewhere there in the corner of Eurasian continent, isn't it? That's objective reality. Even now, by the way, EU is somewhat irrelevant in the world scale, and just imagine what will happen in 20, 30, 40 years' time. It is what it is, man. That's yet again choices and consequences. Citizens of EU did make their decisions. They support people that are destroying their countries. That's it, really. I don't know what majority of European citizens were thinking by supporting such people like, I don't know, Macron and Scholz and the rest of them, and you name it. But, well, they did support them, isn't it? And, well, they will have to deal with the consequences now. That's how it works. And this is gonna be last news for today's first update. RIA Novosti is reporting that yesterday, by the way, in Veliki Ustюг, Russian Ded Moroz lightened their first number one New Year's tree or Christmas tree. Let me translate entire sentence here. So, Russian Father Frost, Ded Moroz, in Veliki Ustюг, lit festive lights on the country's first New Year tree on his birthday on Saturday. The live video broadcast of the holiday took place on the page of Father Frost's on the Vkontakte social network. The time has come for the most important things to light the lights on my New Year tree, said Ded Moroz. Translation said Santa Claus, but in Russia we have Ded Moroz, not... Oh, or we can call it Santa, but it's Ded Moroz. Ded Moroz. So yes, we are closing into New Year's celebrations, and Ded Moroz is very busy. He will begin his travel now all around Russia, by the way. He will cross 32,000 kilometers on his train, and he will visit some 80 cities all around Russia by you know, hyping up a mood of citizens, generating this New Year festive attitude, how should I say? And well, it's all great. It's all great. I love New Year's celebrations, man. We all do. In former Soviet republics, it's one of the major celebrations, of course, undoubtedly. And this is it for now. And this is it for now. How long is this video? A little more than an hour. Okay. Hopefully, dear friends, you will find this update interesting, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary about any topic you like, or as many comments as you can. More likes and comments, as I understand, are only way we can reach wider audience or influence somehow YouTube's algorithm. And for very same reason, if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on any of the platforms that you are active on. And finally, if you think this channel, this project with several channels, is interesting, useful, informative, and deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You can see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care. See you 7 o'clock this evening Moscow time on live stream. Bye for now.